Arsenal just needed a bit of fire in their belly.
Why can't we just start the game with the fire in the belly, whoever we play?
He's a master at identifying space. He's like a space invader.
He's never in trouble, he's never out late. Everything about Bukayo Saka is class.
I don't just expect to win. I want it done by half-time.
Yeah.
So I've got plans for the evening, second half. I don't need the stress of that second half.
Hello and welcome to the show that dives deeper into the world of Arsenal than our defensive line at the Etihad last month. I'm Talia Lazarus and this is Inside Gooners. It's been another satisfying week for the Arsenal. Our win over Southampton was hardly routine, but Arsenal go into the international break with 4 wins in a row in all competitions. So joining me today, we have a stellar panel, including former Premier League striker and scorer of 106 Premier League goals, Darren Bent, the Arsenal oracle that is Clive Palmer, and former Arsenal player and now tactical analyst, Adrian Clark. It's amazing to have you all here. I'm very excited. We've got a lot to talk about today, especially around the Southampton game and our players. But what I want to go into first is that it's the international break, obviously, at the moment. And we are coming in from 4 wins on a row, which is amazing, and we're all very excited, and we're feeling so good about it. But before we talk about that, I just want to throw this over to you, Adrian. Last night in the England game, we obviously saw Saka come off injured. How are you feeling about that moving forward?
Well, I don't like the look of it. I don't like to see any Arsenal player coming off injured in the international break. We saw what happened with Martin Odegaard in the previous international window. So, of course, it's a concern, but I'd like to think that Bukayo Saka just maybe erred on the side of caution there. I think he's experienced enough now to know that you don't get any medals for staying out there if you're not right. So I'm hopeful and optimistic that that's not a serious injury. But look, if it is, Arsenal got to deal with it. There's a no excuses mentality at Arsenal at the moment. You saw that with Arteta. You know, there's been a lot of setbacks this season, but no one has complained about it. It's a case of, right, we crack on, we get on with it.
Yeah, interesting. Also, you're right, there have been a lot of setbacks already, and we're very early on into the season. But then over to you two quickly. How do you feel about the injury?
I'm like Adrian, I hope it's okay, but I will say he does know his body and he does know when to depart the scene, shall we say. And I think that's a smart thing to do. But he is the one player, if you look at our goals and his goal contributions to them, he is the one player that you say, oh, we'd struggle. But actually, I'm sure I said that about Martin Odegaard a little while ago, and we've done okay. So I think we just have to work through it if he is injured for a while.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd probably say that for Saka. He does know his body. I think he's intelligent enough, and I'm sure the medical staff back at Arsenal probably said, listen, 60, 70 minutes, come off. I mean, for me personally, at international level, and it's a positive for himself, but I think he plays too much football for England. And when I say that, even friendlies, qualifiers, major tournaments, I get it, he's one of the most important players, which is why he plays every single week. But it would be nice for himself personally to get a break somewhere because he's so important to Arsenal, so important to England. And I get it, telling any player that you're not going to represent your country is difficult, but at some point he needs a rest somewhere because he just doesn't get one. But you just hope this injury that he came off with the other day is just precautionary. And
of course, that's what we want in the international breaks. We want our players to be rested. How do you think then, Clive, picking up again next week, how do you feel that's going to go?
Well, we work in blocks, don't we, in our minds as fans? We're like mini pros now, coaches. So this block of games, shall we say, we've got Bournemouth first, obviously, coming up and live on TV, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think everyone's got their eyes on Liverpool. I think we've got Bournemouth, Shakhtar, then Liverpool, and I think that's the one that people are going to want to see the best versus the best. And Liverpool are a very interesting team this year with a different construct in midfield. It's so interesting to see how they are and their new build-up, etc. So, although we got 2 games before that, my eyes were already on Liverpool, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I can't wait to see the first choice midfield soon. Hopefully, in Rice, Marino, and Odegaard. I think that is the first choice midfield. I'm looking forward to that gang getting together at some point soon. Probably Liverpool will come a little bit early, but no, I think we're in great shape. I think we're in great shape, considering the fixture list, which has been treacherous. You know, some really tough away games, considering the injuries, considering not every game has gone to plan as well. I think to be where we are right now in the league, 1 point off the top is pretty stellar.
Adrian, would you still take, even though Partey's been incredible, would you still take him out, even in this type of form? because I think at the minute with Partey, the way that he's playing, I've got so much confidence in him, and I get what you say, Moreno when he comes on and Rice, but to all of a sudden just take Partey out of there, I just feel. Whoa.
And I don't know whether Mikel would do that. You know, I'm sure he would give Thomas a chance, but I think with Thomas Partey, the athleticism or the slight lack of compared to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago in his career, is making a difference. I think out of possession, he just can't recover in the same way that maybe a Mikel Merino might be able to do. But look, we'll see. He's playing well.
It's options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's most important.
We'll take it.
So let's dive into the Southampton game then. Obviously, 3-1 win. It's nice to win, but it wasn't exactly, a routine win, was it, Darren?
It wasn't. I mean, when you go 1-0 down after dominating the whole game against the worst side in the Premier League, you're like, oh no. But again, there was probably a couple of seasons ago when that happened, I'd be like, oh, we're not going to get a goal here. But for whatever reason now with Arsenal, I didn't panic. And that was the thing with me. Arsenal go 1-0 down, I'm like, where are we going to get a goal from? But they stayed relaxed, they stayed composed. I mean, Kai Havertz scores a great goal, which I'm sure we'll speak about him a little bit later on. But yeah, it was in the end 3-1. I thought was probably the right result. We drew from where we needed to. I thought the squad played a big part. I think some of the changes really helped as well. But as I said, you're going to get scares like this. And Southampton are one of those teams, and for whatever reason, Southampton always seem to give Arsenal problems. However much better we are than them, they always give us problems. Going back to the 3-3, we were going for the title. But the fact they reacted so quickly, no one panicked, I think was such a big kind of statement towards Premier League wins, because I expect City to win their games. I expect Liverpool to win their games, but there will be bumps in the road. They're going to play games where, like Fulham gave Manchester City a torrid time, and if it wasn't for Adama Traore's finishing, they'd probably get a point out of that game. So there will be bumps in the road, but the fact that Arsenal managed to overcome that and win the game, I think was a massive positive.
Yeah, I thought the game was really interesting. Once they scored, we saw a real power surge towards the end of the game. You could feel that coming. But I have to say, this team is quite smart in recognising what game's on offer for them. And they made sure they fed the people that were important. I mean, Saka got a lot of passes and a lot of touches in this game. And Kai Havertz stepped up when he needed to. And there were people really stepping out of their shadows almost of Martin Odegaard and saying, OK, we've got this. And the pace of everything went quicker. The pace of pass, the quickness of restarts, everything was quicker. And you just sort of felt it coming, didn't you? You felt it coming, and then when it happened, it was no surprise. In fact, it happened almost too quickly. We had 20 minutes to go before the end, and I felt maybe it was a bit shaky for a couple of moments.
I thought Arsenal just needed a bit of fire in their belly. Like, it was almost like, we know we're going to win this, and it needed the jolt of conceding to get them going. And also, I think the triple sub was timed brilliantly from Arteta, and I think all of the guys that came on delivered. I would say, I mean, some of the numbers were crazy. During that time on the pitch, Trossard sort of made as many runs into the box that Jesus had in the entirety of his time on the pitch. Yeah. Martinelli ended the game with the second highest number of sprints of all the players. Wow. He was only on for 39 minutes. They really did inject like a fresh energy, and I think that was the key to the victory. And yeah, it was. And I agree with Clive on feeding the main men, and the main men are absolutely Saka and Havertz. I mean, head and shoulders, numbers wise, and with the eye test, they're the star guys at the minute.
That's a really good point, because Thomas Partey's sitting behind them, isn't he, in this game? And he's not an up and down right back. And he looked at them and said, I'll just give it to you two. I'll just give it to you two. Consistently. And he's walked off, he got off the pitch a little bit early, and he thank you very much, taking 3 points. And,
he simplified it. He didn't try and overdo it, did he, Thomas Partey? He literally just went, have it, and I think that's a sign of a mature player, actually.
You almost force-feed them, didn't you? Just keep giving the best players the ball. Just keep going again. I know you're going to get tired, but we need you. Just keep giving it. But as Adrian was saying there, he's 100% right. I do think top teams at time get a little bit complacent in certain games because they know they're better than the opposition, but you just need something to just wake you up a little bit to go, OK, hold a second here. We're in it. And I think Arsenal now are turning into one of those teams that they at times maybe know how good they are, that they need someone to kind of give them that rocket to go, right, hold on, there's a danger you might lose it. And then they all up it 10%, and then you can't live with them.
So with all of your points of what you just said and what we were just talking about, yes, we're confident. It's nice that we are confident especially even when we do go 1-0 down, and we are confident going into these games. But then why is it that we do sometimes have to concede to have this fire in our belly. Why can't we just start the game with the fire in the belly, whoever we play, and keep going the whole way through? Why does it have to sometimes come out once we've conceded? I'm going to give that one to you, Clive. Because I could see the smile on your face, and you were kind of like, I don't want that one. But...
Well, no, I wouldn't say that that's the case normally. I wouldn't. I think sometimes, look at the goal Leicester scored on the volley. What a goal that was. I think sometimes teams just punish you. Think about the goal we conceded here. Okay, it's a turnover. So Raheem Sterling loses the ball in midfield. It could be a foul. It might not. It might be a foul. It might not be a foul. The decision doesn't go our way. But what happened? Gabriel, prior to that, had gone for a little nibble with a forward, and he thought he'd go on an overlap. He charged off down the left wing. This is Gabriel, the centre back, and of course we lose the ball. So he's out of position. That's why we're a man down. And Archer reads the situation a bit quicker than William Saliba and makes a great run. And you have to say, once he's played in, it's superb centre-forward play from him. Sometimes you just got to say, well done to the opposition. But I do think there are one or two little cracks with Gabriel and Saliba defensively. Just one or two. Like on this occasion, Saliba switched off a little bit. Yeah. We saw Gabriel in the game against Brighton. Could he do better for the goal? Absolutely. Yep. We saw Calafiori at the Etihad dive in and get done. So that it's not a perfect defence, but I still wouldn't swap it for any other in the division. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, Adrian, about that defensive side of things and the two centre backs and why is the gap slightly wider? The fullbacks now are a bit more progressive and punchy, and they're moving off their spots. They're not standing in the three like Ben White used to. So they're punching out. And even on that goal, when Sterling tries to dribble down the middle, which really isn't our principles to dribble. Once you win it back, you've got to keep it for at least 2-3 passes so you get into attacking shape. But he went for the gamble in and Partey's crept up, Gabriel's crept up and suddenly clipped into that corner and we're in. Against Brighton, we didn't get narrow enough, quickly enough when that ball went through. We weren't narrow enough. These are small details, right? And if we can see them, I'm sure the coach's staff can see them.
But we don't see that in the tough away games or PSG at home. No. It's like when we know we're up against a tougher opponent, we will take less chances. Yeah, so exactly. I think when the best opposition, like the Liverpool game, I think we'll be a lot more prudent.
That's just subconsciously sometimes, though, isn't it, Adrian? Sometimes you go into certain games and you're like, these can't really hurt us. Yeah. But then, as you said there, PSG, Man City come knocking because against Manchester City, that was the perfect. I know we were 10 men behind the ball, but in terms of the gaps between full-back, centre-half, the midfield and the back four, it was perfect. There was no gaps anywhere. The only thing Manchester City could do was go round. But when you play against lesser sides, you do tend to switch off. You can't help it, but just subconsciously you think, well, someone will bail us out from somewhere. But against sides like PSG in the Champions League or Manchester City or Liverpool coming up, Arsenal will be switched on and they won't give up those gaps or those opportunities to the opposition.
Is there a way that Arsenal could change that? Because it does happen quite a lot. Like, we should be winning these games a lot more comfortably.
It's happened to Manchester City before. I mean, we regard Manchester City as the best team on the planet. And they switch off. I mean, Fulham calls them no end of problem. There's gaps between the full-backs. I know Jimenez for the first goal is great with a little flick over Akanji's head and it's a good finish. But they themselves switch off as well. And then all of a sudden they have to kind of click back into and go, right, let's defensively be more sound. So I don't think you mean to do it, but I just think top teams have this case where they just switch off occasionally because they know they're better than the opposition.
It's also expectations, because I'll tell you my expectations. I don't just expect to win. I want it done by half-time. So I've got plans for the evening, second half. I don't need the stress of that second half. So they're really causing me problems.
It's true. Look, we're not Chelsea, right? Back in the day, we'd win 1-0, 2-0. Yeah. We want to go out and extend, get 3s, 4s, 5. We want to play swashbuckling football. And with that comes a bit of risk. And I think that we're prepared to take risks against certain teams and against others. As we've seen early on in this season, we are much more cautious. And I think by and large, Arteta gets it bang.
He does. He learns quick.
So, Clive, are you saying then that you're happy to, half-time, we've done it in the bag, you're happy to leave? You're going to go, you're one of those fans that's walking out the stadium?
I go for a drink at half-time. Mate, it's 50-50 on what if I come back. So, no, I'd like to get it done, just for my nerves, get it done early, that's all.
So, obviously, Bukayo Saka had a hand in all the 3 goals and has rightly been receiving a lot of praise across all parts of the media this week. So, has he suddenly stepped up a level this season, do you think?
No, we've been seeing it for season upon season. It annoys me because every single time people talk about Saka, whether it be with Arsenal or England, when it's Arsenal, it's, but there are other players that are better than him. And when he plays for England, what can we change in the England team? Palmer should play on the right. And you're like, have you looked at his numbers over the last few years? They're better than anybody's. I mean, he is so important, and that tells you a lot because England managers will pick him up for every single game, and of course, Arteta knows how important he is. We'll play him in every single game. So, no, I think he's been playing at such a high level for so long. We're so used to seeing him play at these levels that people are looking, not Arsenal fans, other fans are looking for reasons to, how can we take him out? How can we discredit him a little bit? Like, even though his numbers in terms of goal assists this season are incredible, when he's only got one goal, it's like they will find something to say about him. And finally, as you said this week, you're reading some of the reports, he's finally getting the respect he deserves. But Arsenal fans, and Clive, obviously Adrian, of course, will know he's been doing it for season upon season for a while now.
He has, but Adrian knows what I'm going to say. We were talking about, basically, there are many facets to a game, many phases of a game, and you can trust him in any phase of the game. You can trust him as an auxiliary fullback. He can push up high. He can take it on the inside. He's quick on transitions, defensive and going forward. I mean, he's a completely rounded footballer, and I feel like a lot of Arsenal people are trying to tell everybody about this. Maybe we just need to keep a bit quiet and just relax about it because it's still early in the season. They'll know soon enough when he arrives on their pitch, and we should not get so angry about the fact that people are comparing him to other people who are not as rounded in their game, who cannot play off the ball, do not work defensively going backwards, and produce numbers in certain systems, in certain areas of the pitch where he is far more rounded than that.
Clive, do you think as well, Arsenal fans get so about him because he is one of your own? He's like the model professional. You never get any problems with him. He's never in trouble. He's never out late. Everything about Bukayo Saka is class. And you think Arsenal fans get so angry because when people criticise him, it's almost like you're criticising one of your own kids.
Exactly.
No, actually, I don't have kids yet, but I actually got that.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, I understood that. Yeah, I feel that.
I wanted to see how he was doing. So a little search on the way down here, and I thought, all I could see is other people criticising the fact that he didn't end the game, that he got injured, that he was limping. I'm thinking, hold on a minute. I just need to calm down. I need to calm down because this isn't serious. If you know your football, this isn't a serious conversation. And what he produced over 3-4 years, but only in a team that's on its way up. It wasn't a top team. He's got us here. He's helped get us here, not on his own, obviously. And he's still doing it, and he's going up again. So just wait.
What I loved about his performance in this game is that Southampton picked 2 left backs. They basically just double marked him the whole game, and it wasn't just 2. They brought across one of the midfielders as well. I did some analysis on the game, and I could have froze frame a number of occasions where there were 3 players around him. Yeah. And for the goal that for the cross that he put in for Martinelli, he had the 2 on him, and he just drove inside and produced the cross of the game. He's finding ways to cope with what opponents are trying to throw at him. Against Atalanta, you'll notice this. He was playing much more like a number 10 in that game. Again, I think because they were really getting tight to him. It's like, right, we're going to just switch things up. We're going to go and play a little bit more central. I think we're going to see Saka's role evolve over this season and many seasons because he's so versatile. He's brilliant. And in this game, by the way, against Southampton, no one won possession back more than Bukayo Saka. So it wasn't just what he did with the ball, which was brilliant. He was also probably our best player without it as well.
So Saka's actually already on 7 assists this year in the Premier League. Do you think he could get close to Thierry Henry's record of 20? Kevin De Bruyne, I have to mention, has got that record too, but this isn't a City show, so we're going to go past that really quickly. But do you think that he could hit that record?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said he's got 7 now already. I mean, every time he gets to the ball, he makes something happen, whether it's a shot, a goal, or a cross, or a pass. I think he can get there. I mean, what Thierry did is 20 goals and 20 assists. Honestly, when I look at that number, it just doesn't make sense to me how someone could do that many goals and that many assists. But I think for Saka, he might not hit the 20. I don't expect him to hit the 20 goals, but I think for 20 assists, I do think he could hit that mark for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm an Arsenal man, right? I'd agree. But again, not just the set pieces. The way I do think his last action stuff has got better. His contact on crossing, his last pass, he's got a lot more appreciation to it. And I think it's improving. You said earlier about double fullbacks, Adrian. I was thinking back to Bayern Munich. They did the same thing last year, didn't they? And he coped with it, but not as well as he did the other day. And so if people are not thinking he's good, look what other coaches are doing to stop him. And they tell you how good a player is, right? So
there's a bit of a serenity about Saka now. Like, I think he's so confident in his own ability. He knows he can drive past players on the outside or the inside. He just looks smooth, and I agree. I think the way he strikes the ball, even, I know it's a real basic, but the way he strikes the ball is cleaner. Well, it's chalk and cheese actually from when he first come through, isn't it? When his finishing wasn't great, he hits the ball so crisply. He can definitely break that record, definitely. Especially if Gabriel stays fit and he attacks those corners from the penalty spot, like he has done at the start of this season, he might give Gabriel 8 or 9 on his own.
Can you imagine? That would be great, wouldn't it? So then, also talking of players in form, we have Kai Havertz with that classic song, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again. I have to be honest with you, I love that song. I'm actually going to ask you guys, what are your favourite chants? I also find I sing Rice Rice Baby to myself a lot, but like out, like just in general. I'm not sure why.
That's just strange,
I think my favourite's probably Saliba.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I like Saliba's one. That's probably my favourite.
I don't have favourites.
Don't have a favourite song?
No,
sing in the shower?
Don't sing.
I like. I went to the dance earlier this week. I like the Kolo Toure song, Yaya Toure, Kolo. I always have a lot of fun doing that one. But the mess around with the kids doing that. But no, they're good songs. I like the Waka Waka one. Goes down well in our household, I have to say. And look, we're kind of singing it a lot at the moment because. He's a guy that's definitely... We talked about Saka improving his finishing. Havertz, that was the missing ingredient, wasn't it? And I still think there's improvement to come, but he's definitely getting better. And I think that goal, the way he struck it so cleanly, I think that was an indicator of that he's getting there. Well,
let's be honest. Let me ask you a question, you, Clive. When he first came, though, what were your thoughts when he first came? Because I'll be honest and hold my hands up. I was like, 60 million on what? But... I got it completely wrong.
You are the only one that's hold their hands up. I can't find anybody else.
I've said mine on there. I've come to pieces that I held my hands up. I said, when they spent 60 million watching what he did at Chelsea, my dad being a season ticket holder at Chelsea, he told me about Kai Havertz, watching him week in, week out. He was like, I can't believe you're paying 60 million for him. Yeah. But he's convinced me.
It's a different family. It was, it's a family of misfits at Chelsea. He feels that he belongs now.
Well, that is a big part of it, Adrian, as you know, right? And so for me, fortunately, the first game I saw him live was the Community Shield. Yeah. And if you watch that game as a centre forward, if you watch that game, you could see the potential immediately. Yeah. But then we sort of moved him around a little bit, and we sort of lost him. I'm not saying just because of positional movement, but we lost him. But that game stuck in my mind. The first impressions do matter, and so I stayed with him massively because he had so much ability in that game to move the best centre-backs around and really trouble them. And everyone focused on the missed chances, but I focused on the fact he got chances against them. And so that's why, for me, it's a genius bit of talent ID. Yeah. Whether they got it right positionally immediately is up for debate. But now we have a centre forward which literally suits our team almost as good as any other.
Yeah, there is evidence. I wrote a couple of pieces when he signed. So it's out there somewhere. I can't remember who for. One of them might have been for talkSPORT's website. But in regards to, I liked him at Chelsea. I was one of those that could see he was. What's the word? I don't know what the term I use. He's a master at identifying space. He's like a space invader. He can see it quicker than other people. And we're a team that is all built around movement. And Chelsea weren't that sort of team. And I felt that with our combination play that he would thrive. Now, I did change my mind, Darren, after I'd seen him 5 or 6 times in the Premier League in midfield. I was like, he's timid, he looks shy. It's like he's holding back, and I was concerned. But now he looks like a proper centre forward. Like, come on, you wouldn't want much more out of a centre forward because he's running the channels, he's working harder than anybody else. He's aggressive, he's strong. He's got guile as well. We see some flicks and tricks.
Got a bit of nastiness in him as well.
He's a combination. I mean, older viewers might remember Alan Smith, but he reminds me of Alan Smith, and Alan Smith was a proper number 9, but he's got a little bit more, maybe a bit more edge to him than Smudger had. So, it's long may this continue.
Yeah. I think remember the Newcastle away game last season, that game when he...
Yeah, the tackle on the side.
Yes, yeah.
How he rattled everyone in there too, and in the ground. And he just almost woke up that day. And all the fire came out. And that sort of convinced people. But that could have gone wrong, couldn't it? Yeah. That's a sliding doors moment. Gets a 3-game ban and a red card from that tackle. He stays on the pitch. And I remember that moment as a real change in his attitude. And so, I wouldn't swap him. I wouldn't swap him for this team because we're a combination team. We sort of attack in a collective way. He's a collective team player. Yeah. So he's a player that suits this team.
He's played every minute of this season. How many forwards
really?
in the division? Yeah. How many forwards in this division have played every minute of the season so far? Go and check it out. There won't be many. That's how important he is to Arteta.
He's become an incredibly integral part of the team. Like, incredibly.
But he has to just stay on the pitch. Even if it's centre forward and Arteta makes changes, even if he puts him into midfield, that's the trust that Arteta has in him because he won't let you down in whatever position he plays in. So it's a fair play.
He solves every problem.
Yeah.
And in the absence of Ødegaard, who's Arsenal's chief presser, he stepped up. You know, he's the one now. If you watch him, he's the one charging in to close down defenders. So I think he's a great team player, close bang on. And that talk about needing the centre forward, it's definitely diluted. And I think now you're looking at who we're going to bring in maybe in January or the summer to be his backup. You know, rather than replace him, because you wouldn't swap him for anyone at the minute.
That's exactly what we need. And I felt we needed that maybe at the start of the season because the way he plays, he gives us forward direction and like no other in our squad for me. And I think he's the most irreplaceable player. And so for me, it's always about getting another taller forward that can do the things he can do. So the team look up, they can still see that person we can go through. So that to me is the signing we need to make next.
So then let's move on to one of our summer signings. Ricardo Calafiori is showing a new way of playing in the left-back position. So Adrian, I just want to ask you then, what do you think of his performance against Southampton?
Good. He got done a couple of times by Tyler Dibbling, who's a good player. Tyler Dibbling is going to be He's going to be at a Big Six team next season for sure. A real talent. So that was not alarming, but it just showed that it's a work in progress. Where he dived in at City as well, new to the left back position, a bit over eager. They scored a goal, but in general, I've been really impressed. I think that he is much more attacking than I imagined he would be, considering he's a centre-back. You know, he's happy to be in central midfield, driving forward. He's helping Martinelli for sure, having a left footer behind him that feeds those passes from the inside a little bit quicker, I think makes a heck of a difference. Of all of our defenders, no one makes more passes into the final third than Calafiori. I think he's second only to Partey for completed passes in the opposition half. So he's getting on the ball a lot, giving it to the attackers, and I think that's a big thing. For me, the reason I think he's going to be hard to shift from left back is because he's left-footed. It's just like, it's
balance.
That balance is massive, and if I'm Arteta at the moment, I'm not leaving him out.
No, I think he's transformed a lot of people's view of that side of the pitch because we've struggled a little bit on the left-hand side. And when you've got a player like him, so he follows his pass, right? He follows his headers. Right? So he passes it and he follows everything. So his first step is forward, which is great. Coaches love to see that. He goes step forward. But when you look at him, he's very difficult to ignore. So if you're on the opposition, you look at him and think, oh, I've got to pick him up. I can't let him run in because he can do stuff. And so then it leaves room for Martinelli to receive the ball, Trossard on that side of the pitch to receive the ball. And then he really does make runs that distract the opposition. So
he's a galloper, isn't he? He gallops. It's like someone I've read, I can't remember who wrote it, but they described him as almost like a wild horse. Sometimes when he gets going, and I thought that was a good analogy.
Do you know what? Good fullbacks as well have got to be able to defend 1v1. And I think he can do that as well. And that was always the question around Zinchenko. Lovely footballer, going into midfield, could play, really comfortable in possession, but 1-to-1 defending. Every single time someone ran at him, I was a bit like, oh no. With Calafiori, I don't sense that one bit. I almost feel like he's relished it. I've only seen one person run him this season, and that's Hakimi against PSG, and he's quick. He's quick. He almost relishes going, no, don't worry, 1v1, I'll mark him. And I think for a fullback nowadays, or a modern day defender, I think that's so important.
See, because Adrian and I, we spoke last around the Emirates Cup, and this was before Calafiori had even come on the pitch. And I remember we were excited to see what he was going to do and how he was going to make a part of the team. And I already find that when I watch him, bearing in mind we haven't played too many games yet, I already find that when I watch him, he looks like he's been playing with Arsenal for years. I don't feel, in my opinion, I don't feel that he's just arrived. So I want to pass it on to you guys. What do you think?
I think I've got a little theory on this, right? I think he's bending the team to his will a little bit by the way he plays. I think we are reacting to him. So Declan Rice is covering for him a little bit because you think, well, he's gone, right? He's gone. So he's not looking behind him, is he? Right? He's bending the team to his will. So we're reacting to him because he plays with such personality, and that's the thing for me. You know, players sometimes don't have that personality. He shouldn't have it. He's the youngest player in the team, and he's just arrived. He shouldn't have that yet, you know. But he has it immediately. And when he gets fit, properly fit, when he makes those decisions to go and press people, he'll make them more accurately, correctly. Yeah. I think sometimes a bit late, Adrian, you know what I mean? And he get popped round. But when he's fit, he'll get there quicker, and he'll make decisions to maybe drop off earlier so he doesn't get run. So future's bright.
Yeah, he's aggressive, isn't he? He's really, but this Arsenal team is aggressive. We know that. But Arteta loves 4 centre-backs in his back four. We saw that last season. And if you've got Timber on one side, or White actually, and then you've got Calafiori on the other, you've got a back four of centre-backs, but you lose nothing, absolutely nothing, technically, or from our attacking point of view. So those two additions this season, Timber and Calafiori, are dreams from Mikel Arteta, because he's getting those players that love defending, and he's getting great footballers all in one. It's brilliant.
That was almost the difference I felt when I watched PSG versus Arsenal. It felt a little bit at times like men versus boys, because when you looked at the size of Arsenal's back four and the midfield players, I remember thinking, wow, that reminded me of Arsenal in the early 2000s, where they were all 6 foot plus, big, strong guys. And when you look at Arsenal now, that's exactly where the back four with Timber, I know he's not the biggest, but the aggression, Calafiori, Gabriel Saliba, Partey in front of Declan, big, strong physical presences. So I think, again, that's a positive. And I think that's something Arteta saw and has tried to fix as well.
So then let's move on to Martinelli. We're going to go through a few of the players. So Martinelli, he came on and immediately made an impact. Do you find that his fortunes seem to have changed in the last few weeks? Something that we also needed to see, and also he needed to see?
Yeah, I think he looks looser. He looks looser limbed. He looks freer now. The goals did matter. His first goal wasn't an easy goal that he scored, and since then he seemed to have found his presence back in the dressing room again, and he really came on and took responsibility, as Adrian said earlier. He really came on, and when he came on, you had no doubt he was going to make an impact. When you see him sometimes, it's very easy to read when he feels confident and when he doesn't. So I think it's a very important season for him, because we have this memory of 15-goal Martinelli. And we're going to need something like that again. You know, we really are. It's a very important season for him. He's on his big contract now, and we're going to need that sort of impact, goals and assists. And I feel a lot more confident saying that I would have done 2 weeks ago. You know, he's really starting to show the right levels of intensity. Some of his off-the-ball play at City and at Spurs was stunning defensively, and that maybe gave him confidence to work into goal-scoring form, and he's now back for me.
But that's the biggest thing, confidence. In any football, it doesn't matter where you play or what level you play. If you haven't got the confidence, then your performances are going to drop. And when he hit the 15, he was magnificent. But it's, can you back it up again? Because to go 2 seasons with them amount of goals, them amount of assists is difficult to do. So he almost, maybe his confidence took a knock by him not getting to those numbers. So he's working his way back, but you can see the confidence, as you said there, now slowly starting to come back. Now, I believe by Christmas time, it'll be absolutely flying. His confidence will be flying, the numbers will be there, and it'll be Martinelli of old. But I just think his confidence, with any player in this team, if their confidence is not quite where it should be, the drop-off's going to be massive because of where they've been.
And it's competition, isn't it, as well? Because he's now got Trossard and Sterling, who are basically vying for his position. I think, and I don't want to hammer Sterling, because I thought he had a perfectly fine game against Southampton. He was okay. But you did see the difference there between a young guy still on his way up, that's got unbelievable athleticism, and someone that maybe hasn't got the athleticism of old, that wants to come inside and be more of a trickster in Sterling. You saw much more incision, didn't you, and penetration from Martinelli. And I think that encapsulated the difference between the two. And if you've got a confident Martinelli, then he plays. He absolutely plays ahead of the other two, I think. even though Trossard remains the best finisher, I think, at the club, he doesn't offer as much as Martinelli in general play.
How do you build the confidence off the pitch then?
Well, I always found that difficult when I played, building it off the pitch. My confidence came from scoring goals and being on the pitch, being part of a team that was going in the right direction. So it looks like the best dressing room, Arsenal dressing room. It looks like they've got good characters in there. The manager's brilliant. The people that he's assembled around the squad are brilliant. So it's just getting into him, talking to him and making sure he's okay. Odegaard, I'm sure, has played a big part in that. His teammates, leaning on his teammates, having these type of conversations. But I always feel like you get your best. I don't know what you think, Adrian. Yeah. It comes on the pitch. If he's playing again and he's scoring goals, like that Leicester finish, he needed that. It wasn't the cleanest of finishes, but it ends up in the back of the net and all of a sudden it's like...
But it's acceptance. It's acceptance. Yes. It's like sometimes you need to do something, like a contribution. Even though you might have scored 15 the other season, this season Martinelli hadn't done anything. No. And then he makes a difference, and then his confidence goes through the roof. He knows that his teammates, they're loving that as well. He's accepted within the group. On that, by the way, I did something at the training ground not that long ago. I was so lucky. It was with Odegaard, Rice and Saka. It was just like a dream. and we were chatting in this sort of Q&A, and he said that Mikel, I think Declan it was, that said Mikel gets the lads together every 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes with the families, for a social, just for a specific social. And not many teams do that. And I think that's a really important thing to keep that going. Just because you gotta get to know one another as people, I think, to want to run through brick walls to cover their backs. And you see that with this team. They're very much a family, aren't they?
Do you know what's so important about that as well, Adrian, as you said? I mean, I've not heard many managers doing that before. No. But when you've got a lot of foreign players as well that don't know the area, that maybe have come over on their own, their families are left back where they are, that is so important to bring everyone together, because that's how you create that environment. That's how you kind of integrate yourself into that squad. And then that's how you almost know that player will run for a brick wall for you because they go, well, I've got his back. And even though I'm over here on my own, I feel like I'm part of something special. So Arteta doing that, I mean, that's why, again, he doesn't get the credit he deserves, Arteta, for these different methods that he's trying to do. But that Adrian said, that is so crucial to any dressing room, that kind of togetherness.
Because it's also so important what happens off the pitch, like we were saying, behind closed doors. So then, going to move on to Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling. So they both started the game. I still can't believe Sterling is in an Arsenal shirt, but we can, that's something else. So for Jesus, though, we haven't seen the best of him for a while now. How much of a concern is this?
I think it's a concern, but we spoke about Kai Havertz earlier, didn't we? And what did he need to come back? He needed people to give him a bit of time and give him a bit of patience. And I think I have a theory about him regarding how he plays. And I think he's a bit more of an individualist when the ball comes into him. I mean, he's got tricks, I can't read them. I can't read them. But I also can't read where he's going to be on the pitch at any one time. Yeah. And I think that's important to know where your player is going to be so he can receive the ball, so he can get up the pitch and build. I think he needs to build partnerships and relationships again. But also, I don't know if you agree with me, guys, I think there needs to be an acceptance that his role has changed. And when he came in, he was the guy. I was so excited when he signed, couldn't believe it. It's almost like a confirmation we're in the right direction. Yeah. But now he's one of many guys. And he needs to maybe accept he's one of many guys and build different relationships, be comfortable with a different role in the team. You don't have to be the main guy to be successful, just be part of it. And I think that's my little theory on him at the moment.
I think it's quite important, as you said, what Clive was saying there, is that you don't know where he's going to be. I remember the game against West Ham, not last season, I think it was, the season before, where he's getting the ball off the centre-backs. And I think things started to change when he started to do that. We gave the ball away. I think we drew 2-2, I think it was. And I think for Arteta, he needs to know, like Kai Havertz, as you said, he's going to be up the top end of the pitch. That's where he's going to stay. He's going to occupy 2 centre-halves. I think when you've got a player like Gabriel Jesus, is so talented, and he probably sees himself as more than just that. But when he's getting off the midfield players, then he's taking up Martinelli's space on the left, then he goes over to the right with Saka. You can't almost trust him on the pitch of where you need him to be. So I think Clive's 100% spot on. I think you can't trust him, and I think Arteta understands that, and I think Gabriel Jesus needs to either kind of tinker the way that he plays and goes, right, if he wants me as a centre-half, I've got to stay there. As frustrating as that must be, if I want to get in the side, I've got to stay there. But when he keeps floating all over the place, I think that's maybe something Arteta's looked at and goes, we don't really need that.
Yeah, no, not a great deal to add, to be honest. I think the guys have covered it. Yeah, it is concerning, but he's still a brilliantly talented player. Yeah. And, I want him readily available to Mikel Arteta, albeit probably off the bench. He doesn't get into our first 11 at the moment. But, yeah, that chaos factor that he caused is less important to us now than it was. We're better now. We're able to control matches in a much more efficient, professional way now than we were. Therefore his sort of importance has diminished. But it's not to say he can't contribute. But he does need to sharpen up his finishing tally. I think to be Arsenal's striker, you need to be converting more chances than he does. So it's down to him. If he can do that, Arteta will absolutely keep him around. If he can't, then he might be one of the players that they look to move on in the next year or two.
And then before we move on from the Southampton game, we have to mention Aaron Ramsdale. He was serenaded by the Arsenal fans and was so appreciative of the love that he received from everybody. I mean, that was nice to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love Rambo. I mean, I did message him before the game and I said to him, listen, hey, not today. I hope you get it. You know what I mean?
Did you?
Yeah, did you?
What did he say?
He just said, cheers, Benty. Thanks for the support and all that. But, it was good to see him. I'm so glad. But he was always going to get that ovation because he came to the club. I thought he was brilliant. Obviously, he was moved across. Raya came in. He's been brilliant. But he deserved that round of applause.
He did. I sit at the north end of the ground, and so when we started singing his name towards the end after the 3-1. He sort of turned round and he looked like he was a bit emotional. And the bloke next to me said, I feel a bit emotional. I thought, I'm glad he said that. Because it was actually quite an emotional moment. Yeah. It really was, and a genuinely emotional moment. So, I'm pleased for him. Most important thing for that young man is to play football. Yeah. Watching England recently, he can't be that far away.
He's not in the squad at the moment.
They need to redress that situation really quickly. He can't be that far away, but he needs to play for anyone to take him seriously. So good luck to him.
Yeah, I think he'll always be held in high regard with Arsenal supporters. He's kind of synonymous with our transition from being quite a shambolic team into title challengers. He was part of that bridge year and bridge couple of seasons, and I think his personality really had an impact on the dressing room, as well as some brilliant saves and some superb distribution. You should never forget the way he transformed, the way we built from the back. So, yeah, I do like Rambo, but I think there's no argument that David Raya is a slight upgrade. So, hopefully he'll go and be a success elsewhere.
Amazing. So let's move on from the Southampton game and let's have a look at what's been happening online this past week. So here's the first clip. So this was Bukayo Saka and Conor McGregor. I can only imagine what Mikel Arteta must have thought after when he watched that clip. But anyway, over to you guys.
No, that was just one. I was definitely like, whoa, that was a bit too close to home, that, because I just think that's all well and good. He's come to watch Arsenal, and it's all, they're play fighting, but you just never know, anything could happen. He slips and he catches Saka or anything like that. It's just, I felt uncomfortable watching that.
I did. If that was me, I'd have sorted him out.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those moments you are thinking, okay, when is someone going to step in?
You see Bukayo's he's calling it off much earlier than Conor wanted it. So he wanted it to go on, didn't he? But yeah, I was a little bit on edge watching that. But yeah, all's well that ends well.
Definitely on edge, I agree. And Saka was a little bit on edge as well, you can see in his face. But anyway, on to the next clip. We have our TV chef and host, Ainsley Harriott, talking about our very own Declan Rice.
What kind of rice is Declan Rice?
What kind of rice? Oh, Declan. I think Declan's got a little bit of a little coconut in there. He's cool, he's smooth, and him look good. Oh, look. Why, hello, Declan.
He's cool and he's smooth. What a way to talk about Declan Rice. So I want to ask you guys then, what rice would you be?
Oh, no.
Pick your own rice.
Mexican spicy rice.
Why would you be Mexican spicy rice?
Like a little bit of flavour.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've got for you.
A little bit of flavour. Darren's a little bit of flavour.
How many different types of rices are there?
Exactly.
Clive, what rice would you be?
No, I don't do rice. I don't do music. I don't do rice. I just do football.
I don't know. Well, look, I always order a pillow rice, right? So we just change it around to pillow rice. 'Cause I'm quite laid back, so I'm a kind of chilled out sort of guy. So I say pillow rice. There's a little play on words. I've done that. Did you notice it was Declan in Ainsley's eyes? Yeah, he got that one wrong, but I liked his choice.
So then finally, we have a photograph of Bukayo Saka with Perez. So we all kind of know or don't know what happened here. It's a really interesting picture, definitely, and obviously we can see that Bukayo Saka he's okay now with everything that's been going on. But do you want to explain what happened, Darren?
Yeah, I think it was a case of Robert Perez. Was he saying that Jeremy Doku was more rounded, I think, than Bukayo Saka, which I don't agree with. But I did think Perez did then tweet and explained himself why he made those comments. I mean, I think it's just one of those things. He's been asked the question, he gave his opinion. Although I don't agree with it, I think Saka is more rounded than Doku. But you don't want to see, obviously, a fan base turn on a legend. I mean, Robert Perez, he's one of my favourite ever Arsenal players.
It was a Q&A. It was a Q&A. We had to think of something on the spot. Who's better? So is it Doku or Saka at this? And I don't think there's anything in it at all.
Can't take it seriously.
Yeah, two great wide men in the history of Arsenal Football Club there. It's good to see. Look, Perez, will tell you from me, Perez loves the Arsenal, and he will back up Arsenal players wherever possible, I'm sure of that.
Well, that's the thing. That photograph showed that the pair had made up and they are friends now. So that's all that matters. As long as they're friends, that's all we want to see. The smiles on their face you can see in the photograph. So we're now going to get some questions from our viewers. So let's hear the first one. From Tom. Rumours have been intensifying of Real Madrid's interest in William Saliba. How big of a worry is that if we lose him in the summer?
Of course it's a worry.
Everybody tapped it at the same time and was like, oh no.
Look, Real Madrid is the one club where, no player is safe. When Real Madrid come knocking, then every player on the planet, all of our players would be interested. That's just a fact. So yeah, of course it's slightly worrying. He's so integral. I think they are the best partnership in the Premier League, maybe the best partnership in European football at the moment, which effectively means the world, in Gabriel and William Saliba. So we don't want to break it up, do we? But sooner or later, one of them will move on. We just hope it's a little bit further down the line.
Later.
Exactly. But it does put a little bit of pressure maybe on the team to win a trophy this season. I think if we win the league, or even the Champions League, then I think that's the message to Saliba to say, actually, you can fulfil all your dreams here. Yeah. There's no need to go.
I think as long as they keep ticking along nicely, the team keeps progressing, they keep challenging, but as Adrian said, he's 100% spot on. You want to win trophies. And I think as long as Arsenal keep ticking off trophies, hopefully the Premier League, Champions League, then I think they will stay. But you're right. I mean, Real Madrid, it's very rare they go after a player, like properly go after a player and don't get them. Usually they do their homework maybe a couple of years in advance. So it is a concern, it has to be. Saka's another one you worry about, but I think as long as Arsenal keep progressing, keep winning trophies, then they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's important for the club to keep showing ambition in the transfer market, so to support these guys' careers, because they don't want to be like 30-year-old players with no medals behind them. I think this team would be a crying shame they don't win something serious. And I think it's important when we have those opportunities to buy that forward we're talking about. We're going to have to reconstruct midfield slightly next year, next summer. We have to do it well and do it properly. And when players see that, they're saying, OK, we're on the right direction. I don't think at this present moment in time we can say the club have made mistakes that make him think, I have to go. Whereas in the past that may have been the case. But now I think you couldn't say the club haven't created the right environment and atmosphere for young players to progress and thrive. So it's up to us to keep that going, to make sure he's thinking, well, why am I going to go there? Because we've got as good of players here. I think that's the key thing. That's all we can do, right? So that's all we can do.
So, Clive, the next question for you then. How bored is everyone of Bukayo Saka being compared to Cole Palmer and Phil Foden?
Yeah, I've got strong views on this. I think, for one, I think they're all different players. I think one's happy on the outside, on the exterior in Saka, and he's a true wide man that can play inside. And we have 2 10s that can play outside. But when they play outside, they show significant weaknesses going backwards, and that's a problem. And so for me, Saka's more rounded player. But again, back to what we're talking about. You need to win things in this argument. Phil Foden has got, 4 or 5 Premier Leagues, Champions League. He's got a real strong medal cabinet. And so you can't win that discussion. So we have to make sure we win, you know? The England captain at the moment hasn't really won anything. And he should have won something by now with better career moves, for example. But you don't look back at your career when you're a little bit older and say, I've not done it. So it's very important that we win. But for me, Cole Palmer's a true 10. He's probably closer to Odegaard in profile. And Phil Foden is more Kevin De Bruyne, 8-10, but who can play wide, whereas Saka is a true wide man, 1-on-1, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, creator, scorer. You know, but he starts from wide, so I think they're different players.
It's very much the here and now as well, isn't it? And that's the problem, I think, at times in this country, is that Saka's been at such a level for so long that Palmer had that great year last year, started this season well, he must be better than Saka. But people almost forget that, hold on, Saka's been at this level for, 3 years now? Yeah. So Cole Palmer, like last year was his first proper kind of breakout season. And yes, Phil Foden, really, really talented, 1 PFA Player of the Year last year. Brilliant. But again, naturally, with the width, I think he's more of a number 10 as well. But again, because Saka, his levels have been there again for so long, people almost take that for granted that, well, Saka's only 8 out of 10. Palmer's better. And I think that sounds, you're laughing because that's what the conversation is. 8 out of 10 is not seen as good enough anymore because Palmer last year maybe was a 9.
Yeah. So then finally, our last question from Ben. Kai Havertz is missing from the Germany squad due to an injury. All reports seem to suggest that he'll be fine for the Bournemouth game. Thankfully. Do Arsenal need to be better at pulling players out of the international squads when they aren't fully fit? Because Pep always seems to manage it.
Well, we weren't in the previous window. I was actually staggered that Martin Ødegaard went away with Norway because he took a real whack in the game. Was it the Brighton game, wasn't it? Yeah, he took a real whack and he come away limping really from that game. I thought, what an opportunity it is to pull him out. But the issue is, the players have a voice too. They have a say. And you only get one career as a player, he's represented his country. You don't get that many opportunities to rack up the caps, to have these experiences. And if you're captain of your country, you don't want to miss the games. So the players have a say too here. So I think it's important that we all recognise that. But I think what Arsenal can do is maybe be a little bit more persuasive to some of the individuals if they're carrying knocks. Yeah. But I think in general, I think you run the risk of upsetting your own players by pulling them out of squads. And that's the reason why I think you should let the players make the call ultimately. So yeah, because it's important to play for your country, right? You've done it.
Yeah, it's a hard one because I love playing for the country. If a manager came to me and said, you're not going, I wouldn't like that.
No.
I wouldn't like that. But I get it. If you are carrying some sort of knock, and listen, I've never been at a club that's like Arsenal where they're at that level, competing for every major honour there is. So I think sometimes as well, as players, you've got to be not as naive. I understand the scenario that I'm in. Like someone like an Ødegaard, how important he is to Arsenal, how important he is to Norway. But if you are carrying a little knock, you'd be like, you know what? Do I need this one game? Can I just give this one a miss and then come back for the next ones? Because as you said, that I was shocked as well as you guys were. He reported for international duty, having taken that huge knock against Brighton.
Just quickly then on that, as a player, if you want to be picked for international duty, but you've taken a knock. How is that in your mind? How is that? You want to go, your manager probably doesn't want you to go, but how do you find that?
Well, in that scenario there for Ødegaard, he's so crucial to Norway. So it's not a case of, I always felt when I was in England squads that if I missed a squad, my form for my club side's got to be incredible or I'm not going to be in the next one. Ødegaard hasn't got that luxury. So he's got that luxury. So he could be like, well, I'll carry a slight knock. He's definitely going to be in the next squad. There's no doubts about that. He's going to be in the next squad. So he can be a little bit, not selective, but a little bit like Gaffer, listen, to the international manager, I'm carrying a slight knock, so do you mind if I miss this squad? And then I'll be 100% for the next one. And he comes back fit. So I think he's in a position of strength.
Modern players are forever moaning about playing too much football.
Yeah, exactly.
We've even heard the threat of going on strike, It was Rodri, wasn't it,
Yeah.
that brought it out. So look, maybe the modern player is more likely to actually say, you know what, I could skip this one. I think they'd be right to do it. But I absolutely don't think Arsenal should be telling players to fake an injury or to pull out of squads when they're not right, because that is a recipe for disaster. It will come back to bite them.
Well, that's all we've got time for this week. A huge thanks to Darren Ben, Clive Palmer and Adrian Clark. We'll see you next week, and remember, trust the process.